Well, the Edmonton Oilers fall 4-2 to the Minnesota Wild as this homestand continues. 0-1-1 are the Oilers. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Oil Stream postgame show. Tom Gazzola live on location at Hudson's Bourbon Street. It's getting loud on Bourbon Street. Great crowd here tonight. Disappointed crowd here tonight. Lots of orange and blue, and they're not going home too happy, although many of them are drinking away their sorrows and indulging in a 6 o'clock lager or two. Matt Kassian will be by shortly to break this one down. YouTube Trev holding everything down back at ESTHQ. A huge shout out and thank you to the fine folks here at Hudson's Bourbon Street, Steve, Adam, and the entire crew. And then to everybody that did come tonight. Great to see the Nasties. Great to meet some new friends as well. Just a really, really fun Friday night, despite the Oilers dropping a 4-2 decision. Let's get the one and only Matt Kassian in here when Cass is good to go. All right. Also, you can text us 780-218-9999, or if you're watching on our EST YouTube channel, get in the nasty chat. I feel like it's probably already pretty nasty. All right, Cass. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this one, just your overall impressions of the Oilers tonight.
You got beat by a post multiple times. I thought it wasn't a horrible game. They ultimately, I think they do it to themselves. That third goal against in particular was you gave it to them. You kind of handed it to them on a silver platter and put yourself in a position where you had to chase more than you'd like, and you weren't ultimately ever able to recover. They make a little bit of a push, try to crawl back into it, but you had plenty of chances to put the puck in the net, and you didn't. You hit the post. So you ultimately this game comes down to me. I think you outplayed Minnesota, you outchanced Minnesota, you outshot Minnesota. It wasn't like you got out goalied or got goalied. You didn't put the puck in the net. You didn't put the puck in the net when you had your chances, and then you made a couple mistakes that ended up costing you, which sucks. It's unfortunate. Yeah, a lot of frustration, I think, leaking out in the nasty chat. So I'm trading a couple of the nasties to I don't know, maybe Calgary. We'll see.
Well, keep it civil, nasty chat. Keep it civil. I know Dusty was talking about it earlier. He's still down here saying that it got a little too nasty earlier in the day, and he had to toss a couple of people, or at least one person. So I know we probably, as a collective whole, everybody's had a libation or two tonight, but keep it as civil as possible in the nasty chat, please. And thank you. Of course, the text line going. And I've got a bunch of texts that I want to get to, but we are going to get to the game story and summary first up. Let's go to this one. Matt Boldy, his 20th, and Joel Eriksson Ek would open things up. 19:37 of the first. You hate to give up those goals in the last minute, especially the last 25 seconds of a period. Those ones are super frustrating. Boldy's 21st makes it 1-zip Wild after one. In the second period, the lone goal coming from Leon Draisaitl on the power play, his 28th of the year. Nice play. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins feeding McDavid. McDavid over to Draisaitl. Draisaitl buries. We've got a 1-1 game, 10:27 into the second. To the third period now. Jonas Brodin, his 5th of the year, would make it 2-1 from Chisholm and Kaprizov at 9:31. That one I want to ask you about, Cass, and we're going to get into that shortly. While I have Joaquin Gage literally right in front of me, but he's enjoying a 6 o'clocker lager, and he's got his sister-in-law Anne with him, and he's like, I'm not coming on. And I'm like, fine, that's fine. Matty Owanek and Dusty are still here. I think Dusty's going to pop by in a little bit. So 2-1 at that point from Brodin, his 5th of the year. Chisholm and Kaprizov, the assist. Then Matt Boldy would extend the lead to 3-1 at 12:18. That's a dagger, his 22nd of the season from Hartman and Johansson, 2nd of the night for Boldy. The Oilers do cut the lead in half on the power play. Zach Hyman, his 35th goal of the season from Draisaitl and McDavid to make it 3-2 at 14:51. That's as close as the Oilers would come. They had a lot of good momentum. They had a lot of zone time in that third period, but they just could not get that equalizer past Philip Gustafson, and then Matt Zuccarello into the empty net for his 11th of the season. Scored as an unassisted goal as of right now on NHL.com. That goal coming at 18:33. So, shots on goal tonight. The Oilers heavily outshoot the Wild 43-19. They dominate the faceoff dot 67.9 to 32.1%. Power play goes 2 for 2. PK goes 4 for 4. Look at that. Look at the PK actually getting it done for once. The hits 28-26 in favor of the Wild. Block shots 19 for Edmonton, 14 for Minnesota. Giveaways 9 for the Oil, 5 for Minnesota. Takeaways 14 for the Oil, 4 for Minnesota. I just rattled off these stats, Cass, and if you would just to go off of the game stats like that, you would say, boy, what did the Oilers win by tonight? Not the case.
Nope, not the case. I mean, they got beat by the post, like I said, and a few mistakes. Actually, both. So second goal and the third goal, they did it to themselves, Tommy. They did it to themselves. Just some, I would say, fairly blatant defensive errors that end up costing them. You especially in that third period where you started off a period great. You had all kinds of pressure, all kinds of chances. You couldn't put the puck in yourself, and then you give up a couple grade A opportunities against, and you get beat, and both plays with multiple errors from multiple guys, which we've seen in the past, and usually that's how goals happen. Is it's not just one mistake; it's mistake 1, mistake 2, mistake 3, in the pucks in your net.
Cass, we got this text from EA via the text line 780-218-9999. Says, Tommy, I hate to say it, but I miss Smith and Koskinen tandem. You said they're not looking for a goalie, then this is a first-round exit guaranteed. You cannot outshoot a team 24-6 in a period and have 3 goals against. That's from EA. And I wanted to use EA's text because I wanted to ask you, in the Brodin shot right through Pickard's glove, basically, and it squibbles its way into the net. Cass, what would you make of the goaltending tonight from Calvin Pickard?
Yeah, it wasn't great. You'd like him to save that one, as I'm sure he would say. It gets powered through his glove. Now, a whole bunch of things happened before that to get Brodin to a spot where he can take a full. Like, how often do you see a guy able to wind up and take a slap shot from the dot? Like, very rarely does that happen, because usually a player doesn't have time. Now, what happens is, at the point, Warren Fogle, for some odd reason, decides that the guy on the wall is a threat, completely abandons his defenseman at the point, which means now your weak side winger has to hold the middle of the ice for you because you're not where you're supposed to be. Right. And the puck's clean and free at the point, which means you hold there, which means Brodin has a free lane to walk, which means no one's there to step into the lane to try to either impede the pass or force him wide and not give him a clean look at the net. So there was stuff that happened before that chance got there. Again, not very often a player gets to step right up to the faceoff dot and just wind up and blast one. With that being said, Pickard should have had it. Pickard should have had it. Got a piece of it with his glove. It gets powered through him. Had his glove in the right position. Just doesn't get all of it. So, yes, I didn't like that goal from him, but Pickard wasn't bad. It wasn't like he was horrible. The 3-1 goal, there was nothing he could have done. I'm not jumping all over the goaltending on this one, Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Cass, that third one, the bobbled puck coming back into the zone. Did you have issue with that?
With Pickard or with the play in general?
Yeah, the play in general, the bobbling, and then Boldy cutting across and sniping it.
Yeah. So two things on that play that I didn't really like. The bounce with CC is kind of a funny hop. That's not the dangerous play. Would you like him to just try to knock it down or use his hand and bat it down instead of trying to swing the stick? Sure. Okay. Yeah. You could criticize that. Now, Darnell Nurse sees this, and he starts to slide over in case there's problems, which I'm okay with. But the twisting factor in this whole thing is that Leon Draisaitl, who's the high guy back, doesn't take a hard stride. Like, he plants his feet and he glides from the offensive blue line all the way back. Now, if he takes strides, his guy ends up being the guy in the far wall. And
Right.
what coming back in that instance and taking just even a couple hard strides in that instance would do for Darnell Nurse is it would put him in a position where he doesn't have to slide as much over, or he knows he has help on that side. And so you end up with a situation where and Leon doesn't even look. He doesn't even look over his, I mean, skating back, it'd be over his right shoulder. He doesn't even check over on his right shoulder to see if there's danger. He just kind of coasts. And then it puts Darnell Nurse in a position where he kind of has to play halfway in between. Then I also didn't like Darnell Nurse's. I don't know why you'd leave your feet on that. I get trying to get a piece of the puck and reaching for it to try to tip it. Sure.
Right.
Sure. That's fine. But why did he go down to one knee? Why did he go down to, like, I mean, it wasn't a player in a one-time position. You have to recognize that the player that's a threat that's coming into the zone, that's a right-handed shot. So you're not going to get a player that is one-timing that puck, big slap shot wind up. That's not the threat there. You have a player that's on his forehand side. So why are you sliding? The shot's not going to come instantly. You don't leave your feet. We talk about that all the time. Gager talks about that all the time. I really don't like when defensemen for no reason leave their feet. In my opinion, in that instance, he leaves his feet. And, for Pickard, he's pushing and sliding over. I mean, from a momentum standpoint, really hard for the goaltender to do anything there. But to me, that play, it's kind of a combination between Darnell Nurse and Leon Draisaitl, where there's, again, a mistake, I think, made by both of them. Leon by not getting on the hustle to get back in that instance, and Darnell a little bit on the read for who the threat was, what hand he was, and then leaving his feet.
Did it to themselves, Cass, like you said earlier in the show. 780-218-9999. I am going to read this one from Taco. Says, Tommy, here come a flood of "we need a goalie at the deadline" text messages. On a separate note, it seems like goalies love the challenge of playing against... See you, boys. There's Norman at Combine and all his boys. They had a great time. This one from Taco says, on a separate note, it seems like goalies love the challenge and stay to Taco's second point.
You know what, Tommy? You cut out a little bit, so I didn't hear Taco's second point.
The second point was... okay. The second point from Taco was... on a separate note, it seems like goalies love the challenge of playing against the Oil and come up big with stellar performances.
Yeah, I mean... was Gustafsson stellar or was the post stellar? Like I don't. It's not like he made massive saves. I think he got beat and the puck didn't go in. Do they love getting up to play Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? Well, of course they do. Two of the best offensive players in the world. McDavid, the best player in the world. Yeah, they're gonna be on their game. They're gonna be focused. They're gonna know that if they have an off night, it's gonna go poorly for them. So yes, they do, but I don't think Gustafsson was that great. He wasn't that great. They had chances. They didn't bury them. They had chances and they didn't bury them. The puck was there. The opportunities were there. The shots were there. They hit a whole bunch of posts. Those pucks go in. It's a different game. It's not... They didn't get goalied here. It wasn't just a goalie playing spectacular. Gustafsson was just okay. They did it to themselves. Again, a couple mistakes like we already talked about on those two goals and a couple of posts, and they end up losing the hockey game. And as you mentioned off the top, Tommy, if we just read the stat line, and if we were just to look at the chances for, chances against, high danger chances for, high danger chances against, you're going to look at that and say, oh, yeah, the Oilers definitely won that game, but they didn't because they hit posts and they made a couple of mistakes, which bit them in the butt.
780-218-9999. Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian with you live on location at Hudson's Bourbon Street. It is bumping. I'm looking at all the other locations. This one's bumping. It's bumping out there. Thank you to everyone who did come out to watch the game and say hello to all of us here. Cole in Ellerslie, not happy. He's talking about people trying to start the wave. Dirty Curdy texts in. Dirty Curdy with his breakdown here says pedestrian effort in the first two periods. Again, just not enough grit intensity, as Dirty Curdy. Too much puck watching, mediocre goaltending, 3 players minimum, and on 3 to 4 players recipe for disaster. Glad I sold those tickets for bank. Dirty Curdy, CB radio guy with this one, says Oilers need a bottom six player or two, players that can play against other teams' top lines. Clear this was needed tonight. McDavid line can't be playing against top lines all the time. Dowd, Mellanston trade would be perfect. Mellanston trade would be perfect for the Oilers. We don't need a top six forward for this run. We need bottom six with size and speed who can play. Enough of this garbage, and Pickard played great. This is not on him. Mike in Thunder Bay says, boys, I swear if I hear one text or any nasty talking about bringing up Campbell or trading for Fleury, I'm going to lose my mind. Pickard is the backup. He has usually been solid when called upon. He didn't have the best game tonight. Would definitely like to have the second goal back. But how many of his games this year do you look at and say he is the reason the Oilers lost? Also, how many games can you win without scoring 5-on-5? Also, gotta love future EST guest Bob Stauffer calling out Vegas and the Stone LTIR situation during the second intermission. You know what's going to happen. Have a great night. Deuces in Bay. Okay, some long text there, Cass. Did you take anything from most?
Well, the Bob Stauffer comment. I mean, I've been saying that since Jack Eichel got hurt, and again today.
You have. Yes,
yeah,
you have.
I still think there needs to be a league rule against circumventing the cap in the playoffs. And it's really simple. Your game night roster has to be cap compliant. That's it. That just would be easy. You can have more than that on your playoff roster, but the players you dress have to be cap compliant. Easy fix by the league, but for whatever reason, they're not going to do it. I don't know why, but yeah, watch Vegas do it again. Totally. Yeah, I mean, on the Pickard, we'll jump on that one a little bit. It's not like he's really lost games for the Oilers. He's played generally well, and yeah, he had that second goal. Wasn't a great goal tonight. Yeah, wasn't great goal. Needs to save it. But he hasn't consistently done that. And even then, again, couldn't do anything on the third goal. That wasn't his fault. And so like to sit and to blame the goalies and to jump all over that, I'm not hopping on that train. And I know there's lots in the nasty chat, there's lots in the text line, lots of people are all of a sudden like, we need to trade for everybody. I mean, I don't think you're trading for Fleury now. If you got Fleury somehow for on the cheap for basically nothing, and you want to tell me, do you want to bring Marc-Andre Fleury in for a playoff run, and he's going to cost you a 4th round draft pick or like maybe a 3rd round draft pick, and somehow you can make the cap money work? Well, sure.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. But he's not going to cost that. He's not going to cost that. If you're going to bring in like a Marc-Andre Fleury and you're going to make it work with the cap, you're going to have to move assets out. You're going to have to move your high quality draft picks out, and you're not going to be able to then trade for something else you need, which still, in my opinion, the number one thing is right side defensive depth. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to do that. So to me, still to jump all over the goaltending with this and to be panicking, you shouldn't. They didn't score 5-on-5. They had a ton of chances. They hit a ton of posts. They didn't bear down to put those in the net instead of hitting said posts and actually scoring goals. And that to me is the game story. That's the game story, is you had your chances to win it. You should have won it, but you didn't put the puck in the net when you needed to.
780-218-9999. Cass is getting fired up. I like it. I like it a lot. SJ in the Kootenays, who's not in the Kootenays anymore, says, childish effort. Think they can mail it in. 40 shots, massively flattering, and we're back to liking playing power play, not hockey. Our second goal power play was a ridiculous call against the Wild. This team is nowhere near as good as it thinks it is. Ooh, it is vicious out there tonight, Cass. It is vicious. This one from Andy Pandy says, so disappointing, Tom. Oilers dominated the back half of that game, but they simply got goal-lead / didn't finish, and Pickard let in a terrible second in a tight game. Wild scored twice on their first 2 shots in the third. Half the team was going. Kane, McLeod, Nuge, Passengers, brutal start to the homestand. Signed Andy Pandy, who then stacks it up with CC and Nurse were horrendous tonight. So frustrating to lose a game they should have won 9-2. Expletive sakes, Andy Pandy. Brandon from Windsor with this one. If Holland better make a trade soon. Oilers played great, but they need a shakeup. Pickard played great, but those 2 goals looked like an AHL goalie. And I'm going to go to Buzz in Nebraska, who said, missed game celebrating Dad's 37-year career in military. Better luck tomorrow. I'll read one more. Cass says, evening, boys. Congrats on getting on iHeartRadio. Thank you, Eden. Tough loss tonight, but I have a question that's been bouncing in my head for a while now. What is the identity of this team? Last year was the high-octane, unstoppable power play. Cass, what about this year is what Eden is asking.
Well, I think they've kind of formed the identity of being a patient team that knows that they can come back and that just tries to play the same way. And for the most part, the last 2 months they've done that. Now they're going through a little bit of a stretch here again where they've at times have got away from it. And I would say still, if we're looking at what the identity of this team could be or should be, that would be what it is a team that doesn't force it, has the ability to be high octane when they need to, and can really ramp the pressure up. Now, I would agree if we go back, and I can't remember if it was Dirty Curdy or whose text it was talking about, that they need to ramp it up in the first or the second, and as opposed to the level that we saw them ramp it up to the third. And I would agree. I think there's room there for growth still to really apply pressure on teams and to not just sacrifice the defensive zone. But I mean, it's still maybe a team. I don't want to say they're searching for their identity. They've been one of the best. Actually, they may have the best record in the NHL the last 2 months. Like they've been really good.
They're first since like November 24th or something like that.
Right. So more than 2 months, even. Like they've been really good. So I don't want to say they don't have an identity. I would say it's that patient team that has the ability to play that high octane offense. But when they struggle, that's when they get away from that and they start forcing plays typically. Now, I don't think they forced plays tonight. Like it wasn't like they gave Minnesota as many great opportunities or had as many turnovers as they did Wednesday night against Boston. But I think, there are times they do get away from the identity. Then if you want to question and say, hey, they haven't found a way the last couple games to be consistent with this, should we be concerned? I think it's safe to say, yeah, we should be concerned. We don't want them losing that identity. We don't want them to revert back to that only high octane trading chances back and forth team. But I don't, that wasn't the game I saw tonight, Tommy. Again, I think the game I saw tonight was they had their chances for offense and they didn't bury. They didn't finish. And because they didn't finish, they let a team hang around and they let a team get the lead and they weren't able to claw back into it.
All right, I'm going to do this, and I think a lot of fans and followers of this team are not going to be happy about it, but Cass, they actually won a second period. They didn't allow a goal in the second period. They had the goal in the second period.
They went 100% in the PK.
They also went 100% on the PK, and the power play went 2 for 2. So I'm going to look at some positives, and I will say there's something that's good. Like the PK was so leaky. And listen, the Wild had the 7th best road power play in the league coming into action tonight. Overall, it was 12th in the NHL. But the Oilers PK got it done. The Oilers power play got it done. It was those opportunities you talked about that the Wild were able to take advantage of. Yes, we don't like that second goal. But if you're looking at this from an Oilers standpoint and you're going, like you said, they didn't bury. They couldn't bury their chances and their plethora of shots. But there were some increments of this game where you're like, that was all right. And I feel like it's okay to acknowledge that the PK was good. Power play connected for you a couple of times. Is it good to rely on your power play all the time? No. We know that full well. We've talked about it on this program, on this station, on our old station, year after year after year. But Cass, they did do some good things in this game.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. No, and they generated offense. Well, offensive opportunities. They generated offensive opportunities. Yeah. Again, they didn't bury, and it wasn't like they played a really soft defensive game. Now they had, again, a couple of mistakes that absolutely bit them. But Minnesota's an opportunistic team. And they're a team, as you said before the game, that scores goals in bunches and has at times found ways to do that. And they do again tonight against Edmonton, a period where they're getting badly outplayed. They didn't have much, didn't have much offensive zone time, didn't have any opportunities, but you just give them that inch and they took it. So again, like the story of this game, even in the dressing room, I mean, that's going to be the story. Is there going to be frustration? I think there's going to be a lot of frustration. Because they know they played well enough to win the game. They just didn't bear down on their chances, which would have, again, completely changed the makeup of that third period, completely changed the makeup of the game. Now, the reality is they didn't, and they're going to have to deal with that and reckon with that because when you don't score on your chances and you have that many, it could come back to bite you, and it did tonight.
780-218-9999. The Oilers fall 4-2 to the Minnesota Wild. Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian with you. YouTube, Trev, as Well, Chris Max in the nasty chat says Skinner will play great tomorrow. You'll see. Neil says Dry was pissed at Bush for refusing to shoot on the power play. Loomis says every team is an opportunistic team. And a bunch of other nasty chats that are going. I'm going to go dip back into the inbox here. Meet, thanks for coming out tonight, says thanks for the GC, Tommy. I'll get my other ones from Lieutenant Eric another day. Good to see you, Meet. Ryan from Sask says, hey, fellas, strange game. Another really bad start. I like the Oilers' response after the first atrocious. D was backing in on the goalie a lot off the rush, especially on the first goal. Forwards puck watching didn't help. Double shifted guys through the Holloway Perry tandem. I think that accentuates the need for a bottom six center. Thought Fogle was pretty good again. Need to get one tomorrow night. Ryan from Sask. What's interesting, Cass, and we talked about it on the pregame show, was that with Holloway, Chris Knobloch said he's going to start on left wing, but then we're going to start playing him at center in some shifts. I thought that was different. I don't know how many coaches plan to make that happen at some point in a game. I know it does happen when you notice who's a passenger and who's a driver. What did you notice with the rotation of the lines and the mixing and the matching?
Well, you're also, and it maybe didn't happen as much tonight because of power plays. You know, that it's not, I don't think it's odd for him to say that because, yes, he's going to start in the left wing, depending on power plays, depending on penalty kills, who's out there, who's finished out there, who's just had a shift. You know, having a player that can rotate in there, I think could be beneficial. So that's more what he's talking about. Now, he goes to a couple different rotations over the course of the game with working some players through. Again, they generated offensive opportunities at times, but they didn't actually generate goals, which right. comes back to hurt them. Third line center, sign me up if you can find it. You know, Nick Bukestad styles, like get a guy in there like that can play there consistently for sure. Absolutely. Is that still a need on this team? Yeah, that would be huge. Now, can Holloway maybe continue to transform to fill that void? Maybe. But
let's be real. Like, let's give him some time. I mean, he's played a handful of games at center in the NHL.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I think you still want to be looking if you can bring in some of that forward depth in the bottom six to have a solid third line center. Yeah, without question. I mean, that to me was such, and I know that the price was massive, like to pay for Sean Monahan, but that's where it's like, well, he would have fit in perfectly. And his contract wasn't that big, but price point maybe wasn't there because it was not cheap for that Monahan trade. But I still think, you're probably looking if you can, because I don't think you're right, Tommy. I don't think you want to put that pressure and rely on Holloway to do that.
Hey, Monahan was a guy that was on their list. If the price isn't right and the Habs get a better deal with Winnipeg, that's the route they go. It's out of the Oilers' hands. So that's a good reminder. But they're dealing with the situation that they're in now. We'll see what Ken Holland can do in the next couple of weeks. And in the meantime, the Oilers need to get back to work, Cass. They have no rest. They're in action tomorrow night against the Calgary Flames. Back-to-back situation at home. If you're Chris Knobloch and the coaching staff, how are you approaching tomorrow night's game?
Battle of Alberta. I mean, you got to get the emotion pumped up. You lost the game. You don't want to lose two in a row at home in a back-to-back. I mean, it's going to be tougher. Calgary was in town today. They're not traveling tomorrow. They didn't play tonight. You have a rested Calgary team that's probably on the outside looking in at the end of the day from a playoff standpoint, but they're still wanting to make their mark. They're still wanting to win. And it's the Battle of Alberta, Tom. So you're going to try to ride that emotion a little bit. And I think you're going to try to breed that frustration out of tonight. Now, not the squeezing sticks too tight, angry at ourselves frustration, but if you got to do things well enough and you got to actually bury your chances, and then you're going to win a hockey game. But you're basically going to explain the gravity of the situation, which everyone in that dressing room should know. It's the Battle of Alberta. It is your rivals. You don't like these guys. You don't want to lose two in a row. Really 3 in a row, I guess, with the overtime loss.
0-1-1 on this current homestand. The Oilers are. Cass, fantastic work as always, my friend. Bury those damn opportunities tomorrow night. That's the theme, isn't it?
100% it is the theme.
All right, Cass, you and I do this again tomorrow at 6:30, pre- and post-game show. As always, my friend, get some rest and great work. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I will, buddy. Sounds good. Have a 6 o'clocker there for me.
This one's for you, buddy. This one's
Thanks,
for
buddy.
you. That is Matt Kassian, our game analyst. Great work from him. Bury those damn chances is what Cass is saying. And yes, listen, I understand the arguments from people. I understand the frustration. That's a game you should win. The Wild have been playing better. We did talk about that. They do have offensive capability, and they managed to pull it off against the Oilers tonight. Listen, if the Oilers bounce back with a win tomorrow, I think this eases some of the pain. Not all of it. 0-1-1. You lose and get that 1 point against Boston. Acceptable. You can swallow and stomach it. But this one, I think, pisses Oiler fans off because that's one you should have, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You got a desperate Calgary team, back-to-back. So I fully understand where the majority of Oil Country is coming from tonight. All right, let's go to YouTube, Trev, really quickly. YouTube, Trev, you were down here at Hudson's for a bit, and you were rocking that stash. There you are. You had your jersey. Did you have to give the jersey back? Mike and the boys were here earlier.
No. I took the jersey off. It's just super hot in here for whatever reason. I don't know why, but as soon as I came in here, I was just sweating, so I took it off. But no, sorry, Tommy. I was just dancing. I hear the tunes in the background. I'm having a grand old time. It was awesome. The last Hudson's on location that I wasn't able to partake in, so it was fun. I'm not going to lie. I didn't get to watch a heck of a whole lot of the game, so I don't have too much info, especially after Cass, such a professional. So I don't have crazy insight. I will say, I'm not surprised, though. This is the Minnesota Wild team that has just always had the Oilers' number, and for whatever reason, it's just, they outplayed them, they outshot them, and that's the way she goes sometimes. And I'm not too mad or upset. Yeah, it's frustrating for sure, but whatever. You got a game tomorrow. You can't. Just like in playoffs, right? You got to start building that playoff mentality, Tommy. You can't hold on to this. It's one game, you move on, and that's what they need to do. So, fun night all around. Had a grand old time, and it was sweet. Can you hear me, Tommy?
I hear you, buddy. Sorry, it was cutting out there.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
All right. Edmonton 2-8 heading into tonight in its last 10 against the Wild. Add another loss to the tally, and this team, for whatever reason, the Wild continue to frustrate the Edmonton Oilers. All right, we're gonna go inside the Oilers locker room. YouTube, Trev, who is up first?
Yeah, he was a -4 tonight. Let's go to the captain. Here is Connor McDavid.
I thought it was a weird one. I thought it was as flat a first period as we've had. And you know what? Credit to us for getting ourselves going there in the second. I thought we were able to generate a little bit of our own momentum. I thought the PK helped with that. And I thought our best period was our third period, and we found a way to give up 3 there. So, I thought, we were able to build a game and give ourselves a chance, and just didn't come through.
Right. Matthias talked about how when you guys were winning, you were just doing the good job of not giving up the goal.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see in that third as far as you mentioned the puck was in their zone a lot, but when it was in yours, it was in the back of the net?
The second one, the first one in the third period there, a little bit crossed up in the D zone, and the guy shoots it, goes in the net. Third one just kind of owes on face-off coverage, and they make a good play. They got good players, and especially those 3. That top line was real good, and they made more plays than we did, I guess.
You guys are searching for kind of a complete game, whether it's been second periods or tonight the first or whatever. What do you think? If you had the answer, I know you do it, Connor, but what do you think of that?
It's just being focused and ready, for 3 hours. And not having any lulls. It takes a lot of concentration, takes a lot of focus, but, we're paid to do that. So our group has just had little lulls, whether it's the start or in the second, and those can't happen, obviously. If you want to be a good team, you got to play all 3 periods, and we haven't done that in a bit here.
Yeah, lots of games, like your first 40 games, you guys had a lighter schedule. Now it's getting heavy. Lots of games. Does that have any effect on the fact that you say it's sort of two-period hockey you've been playing for a couple weeks here?
No, I don't think so. I thought we showed that we had good legs. I thought maybe that was an issue in the first period. I thought we were a little flat, but I thought we built a game there in the second period. Starts with some great penalty killing, and I think it gave our group energy, and we were able to kind of build a game. And then in the third period, I thought we were flying around. So I think we got good legs. I like playing more games. I think guys get into a good rhythm, good routine. Kind of those stops and starts can, in the schedule can, the rest is nice, but sometimes you can lose your game there. Obviously, as we saw since coming back from the break, it hasn't been the same. So I'm looking forward to playing some consistent hockey.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would appreciate seeing the Oilers play some consistent hockey. Good 3 periods, no lapses in the second period. I guess we could say today they didn't have that second period lapse where they outscore the Minnesota Wild, or they outscore their opponent in the second period. And then in the third, where they're generally really good, allowed a couple, only got the one. The end result is a 4-2 loss at the hands of the Wild. And Connor McDavid, like YouTube Trev was talking about, his numbers after this one tonight, 2 assists, a -4, like Trev was talking about, 6 shots on goal, 1 hit, 23-12 time on ice, 69% on the dot. The Oilers dominating the face-off dot and the shot clock, but couldn't get it done where it mattered, and that is in the goal column. YouTube Trev, who are we going to hear from next?
Let's go to the Viking. Here is Matthias Ekholm.
Did you sort of feel like just maybe a couple of tough mistakes and they capitalized?
Yeah, I thought, I obviously didn't think we played our best game in the first. I thought we were a bit flat, but from that first period on, I thought we were dominating the game. I thought we were a lot better in the second. We came out, we had some big kills, and then got on the offense, and we're all over them. And I thought we built that game into the third, and I thought we had a bunch of chances in the third too. We had the puck a lot. Obviously, there was these odd mistakes or these odd rushes that they had that they capitalized on, and that's on us to be better.
Where did it come out on? You mentioned the word capitalized. Do you guys need to do a better job of capitalizing on your chances?
Both yes and no, and I think look back at that streak that we had going, it was more about not letting them score more than maybe us scoring, and then we got the time to goals, and tonight that was on the other side of that. So that's something that we'll look at and take to us and be better at, because obviously there's two sides of that coin. But at the end of the day, I thought we played it good enough to win, but we didn't play the best game we've played so far. So I think we can definitely be better, and especially, as I said, in the first.
What's your take on, I know it's a dog days and you're playing a lot of games and you're not going to be great every night, but this team hasn't played a lot of 60-minute games in the last while. There's been a lot of 40-minute hockey games here, and this was another one tonight. How do you try to shake out of that for at least one game in a row? Yeah,
it's what you're saying. I mean, I think we have 4 games in 6 nights, and they just seem to come a lot more often than they did maybe in January or December. But it is what it is. It's the same for everybody. You got to try to get yourself geared up and be able to play 60 minutes. That's what this game requires, and we didn't tonight, and that's on us.
Well, he owned up to it. That is Matthias Ekholm, not shying away from it. Said that they played a good game, but not good enough to win. Consistency, PK, power play, they got it done tonight, but just a few lapses, self-inflicted wounds like Matt Kassian was describing earlier on in the show. Let's get to a couple of texts here before we go to our next interview in the locker room. Calgary Glenn says, Tommy, I didn't think the Oilers played that badly tonight. The Oilers didn't get the bounces. The Wild did. Put this one behind us. Let's bury the Flames tomorrow night. P.S. See you on the ice on Sunday, Calgary Glenn. Looking forward to it. Mike from the Heavy Hockey Boys, and some of them were here. They're looking forward to the weekend, and so too are all of us from EST. Fergie's Prostate, who chipped in and donated to the charitable cause. also is excited, and he figures that he's got a little surprise for everyone too. And I'm not supposed to tell Dusty about it, so I will not. All right, let's go to RJ now. RJ with this text. RJ says, McDavid -4 is a tough look for him. I can see him bouncing back in the next game. He usually does. Also, these games happen. There won't be too many games like this when the Oilers score 2 when putting up 40 shots. Most of the time, they'll put up 4+ with the chances that they had tonight. Justin saying, Tommy, all good. Let's beat the Flames. Let's go. Connor's pissed. That's from Justin. And he also said Cass had better hair tonight. I agree, Justin. All right, this one, no name on it, says, why do people still think our goalies are okay? We have an okay goalie and an AHL goalie. To be fair, the beta, the Canucks 10-7, but still, just look at the shots. Look at McDavid's hat trick of posts. How do you lose that? No name on that text. Liquid Beaver says, guys, flush and move on. Take it out on the Flames tomorrow. No need to panic. All right, Trev, who are we going to hear from next?
Yeah, last but not least, let's hear from the HC. Here is head coach Chris Knobloch.
You had a better second period tonight, and in the third period, you guys outshot Minnesota pretty badly there, but can't come out with the loss. So just some thoughts on your team's effort going into that third period.
I thought we did a lot of good things. One thing I didn't think we did well was finish. You know, there's a lot of pucks that either hit the goal post or kind of trickled wide or were laying around the goal crease. You know, sometimes those go in, some nights they don't. And tonight, I think we're unfortunate in that area.
Whether it was some second periods before, Connor said tonight it's as flat at first as he had in quite a while. They seem to be chasing the 60-minute effort. What are you kind of seeing in that chase from your group to find more consistency more of the night?
Yeah, I think overall it was probably 40 out of the 60, but also, you know, the first half of the game we had 4 penalties, 4 kills. You know, it takes a lot of the rhythm out of our game, especially when our best players aren't on the ice for the penalty kill. It's makes it tougher for them to play and for our team just to get things going.
When you're looking for momentum swings, you know, McDavid can go do his thing in the offensive zone and stuff, but would it be fair to say you need more guys figuring out ways to shift momentum, whether it's the hitters hitting, whether it's like more guys taking some ownership and trying to swing the game back the other way?
You want, you know, adding Corey definitely has done that, whether he's been getting in a fight or a scrum or scoring a key goal. You would like a little more offense from the, you know, throughout your lineup. I think, you know, your top 2 lines, as good as they are, can't produce every single night. Well, they did tonight, just on the power play, but 5-on-5, yeah, we'd like a little more contributions from everybody. But, you know, as long as they're pushing the pace and putting more time in the offensive zone, usually things work out. And overall, I thought their play was positive.
Chris, your penalty kill tonight back to the level you want. What did you see different tonight that hasn't been there the last few games?
I thought one thing with the penalty kill is less time you can spend in the defensive zone, the better. And I think a couple things that we did really well was on the, you know, our stands at the blue line, on the entries. I thought it was a pretty good job forcing them to dump the puck in. And then the clears, you know, probably every clear, or every time we had an opportunity to get the puck on our sticks, we got the puck down, and that's a huge difference. And tonight I thought our puck play, the confidence was there.
You look in the third period and, you know, you outshot them 24-6 and they ended up scoring 3 goals. Did you need a key save in the third at times?
I'm just trying to think of the goals, and, you know, the second one's pretty tough. It goes east-west and then back. That, you know, that's tough. Yeah, it's unfortunate for a goaltender to say you let this many goals on this shots to say we need more out of you. I just think it was unfortunate. Just like you look at us not being able to score goals tonight, I think that was unfortunate. So, you know, I put nothing on the goaltender. Usually if I say that we need a key save, I'm suggesting that he could have played better, and I don't think that at all.
You mentioned Corey Perry. Did he get kind of left on the bench tonight because he's not on the first power play and you killed 4 penalties, and he's playing 5 minutes through 40 minutes, and you're probably looking down and says, I got to get him on the ice more than this.
Absolutely. We need him. It's very important. The more offensive zone face-offs, that's something that he's good at, and try and put him in that role. But, with the special teams, and, he needs to play more than he did, especially when we're looking to score a goal.
Thank you.
So, 4 wins in the last 9 games. Is that just part of the ebbs and flows of a season, or are you a little concerned that some issues are creeping back into the game that were there earlier on this season?
Not at all. If you look at the expected wins, many of those games we should have won. Whether it's luck or playing a good goaltender or maybe just us not playing well. Obviously, the penalty kill had a little bit to do with that, but I'm not concerned at all.
All right, that was head coach Chris Knobloch there on his team's overall performance. And at the end, he says he's not worried about his team at all. Dustin Nielsen now joining us, host of The Nielsen Show, and 2 guys in a goalie, and the oil stream, and the log shop. All right, pal. It was a good night here. The result, not good. I know you were busy. You were saying hello to everybody. You were hosting a little bit. But at the end of the day, a lot of angry Oiler fans. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, I've been kind of trying to keep tabs on the postgame show here.
Oh, they're pissed.
Yeah, well, and they should. I mean, I get it. I understand. I mean, it was a Tix that asked the last question.
Yeah.
About what's happened here over the last 8 or 9 games, and legitimate concerns. I mean, it's a lot of the same thing over and over and over again. As we were sitting here watching the game tonight, you see them try to make a push and come back in the third, and just like, is this what this team's just going to be? Is
Comeback
this team just
City.
Be a team that needs to crank it up in the third period in the playoffs to go out and have success, because teams that have to do that aren't teams that have success in the playoffs. So understandable. I mean, the top line tonight, what McDavid finished?
Minus 4.
-4.
Yeah.
Unacceptable in a spot like this. It was not a good night for Ekholm and Bouchard either as well. And they got to turn around and do it again tomorrow. And, when you look at this homestand overall, they had 10 points up for grabs. We talked about it on the oil stream, on the Nielsen Show or whatever.
3 wins.
You were looking at 3 wins at least. Now they got to sweep the rest of the – I was looking at 3-1-1. That's the bare minimum. They've got the point that they got against Boston, but the loss here tonight, and things don't necessarily get any easier. I mean,
no, they don't.
Calgary, Los Angeles, and St. Louis is not going to be easy. So I know there's like this criticism of, if you say, well, they did really well because the schedule was soft, but it was soft. It was extremely spread out. They had a lot of rest time, but they won 16.
They won those games.
16. They won those. But after that stretch, when you go, well, let's see how it plays out when there's more games, the competition's more difficult. Like, those truthers are kind of having their day right now.
Yeah, they are.
Right? And good for them, because it's a valid point. Like, they're playing lots of hockey. They've been extremely healthy all season. Outside of, like, guys being nicked up and still being to play.
You knock on wood when you say that.
This team has been extremely healthy so far this year. So I could understand why people would be a little bit fired up tonight, and it's completely justified.
A lot of criticism for Calvin Pickard and the goaltending as a whole. Obviously, Skinner hasn't been elite Stu Skinner, but before the break, he was elite Stu Skinner.
Yeah, the team was just playing better in front of him then. Right? That's what we talked about today on Oil Stream, when we said, on a level of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about Stuart Skinner right now? And I was
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it will come down to tomorrow. Like, if Stuart Skinner has a great game tomorrow against Calgary, a lot of people might be fine for Stuart Skinner. But if Stuart Skinner does not play well against the Calgary Flames tomorrow night,
it's going to be
the
fire.
Edmonton Oilers might have a bit of a goaltending issue. It's just that simple.
Well,
it's like the last game. I know he's Brad Marchand, and I know on the broadcast they talked about, when you're going to score 400 goals in your career. But come on, who are we kidding?
The short side.
That should have been stopped. Gager's sitting right here.
I know. I want to ask him, but he's having
out of shape. Gager knocks that away with his blocker. So it was unacceptable. The team play has fallen off. Skinner's play has gone with it. So now you look at beginning of the year, team's a train wreck. Skinner and Campbell suck. team plays better, Skinner looks better. Are we at the point where you have the conversation of is Skinner simply just a product of how the team in front of him is?
Like a systems quarterback?
Well, yeah, a game manager from a quarterback position. Like, and I know like Niners fans wouldn't like this, but like if Stuart Skinner, Brock Purdy, he's not Patrick Mahomes.
I think he's
but
capable of better than Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy just took his team to a Super Bowl.
Brock Purdy was in a Super Bowl and a top 5 finalist for MVP.
Yeah.
Now I think there's a little bit of overhype going on with Brock Purdy because the Niners threw the ball in the bottom 4 of the league.
Yeah.
But I can see why people would be frustrated.
No, totally. We'll get some more texts right away here. Dusty, give us your thoughts on how tonight went and then this new partnership with Hudson's.
Yeah, this is great. I don't know. I still get a little. I shouldn't, I guess, at this point, but I still get a little surprised. Like
About what?
Like with people who support us.
Oh, they're the
like,
best.
I'm always like, this is great. Like that whole far side of Hudson's was basically our table, listener table. Back there,
there was
table,
one here,
listener table,
one back
here.
there.
Talked to some guys at the bar. Listener table said that you gave him a gift certificate and his significant other.
Yes,
a female, the same denomination.
Thank you.
Which congratulations, Tommy. That's great. So I mean, it was a like this place was already going. It's a Friday night.
Yeah.
At Hudson's, but the AM Nasty was represented well tonight. So I mean, a big thank you to everybody there. This is great. We got 4 coming up in March, 4 coming up in April, and it's a good time. So you can come out here.
Oh, there's Maddie. You're. No, I'm okay. Thank you, Maddie. I
I'll
appreciate
have one more. Sure.
Oh, there you go. 780-218-9999. Tom Gazzola, Dustin Nielsen with you, and YouTube. Trev, Matthew wants to get in. Are you going to get in? Are you going to? I know how to say your last name. Do you want your last name? Like, are you wanted by the police?
Tommy gets very frustrated when people bother him. You just go away.
As long as you don't ask me for a vape pen charger, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. Let's get to some text here. Yeah, I'm not flying a helicopter. Get to the chopper. This one from Chris says, 9 out of 10 times the Oilers win this game. It happens. The hunger to get a win tomorrow is going to be huge. Peter says, hey, fellas, I want to hear your take on Leon. I've thought that most of this year when he's been on his own line, they have struggled with their matchups, which has forced KK to put Leon and Connor back together, which creates a huge imbalance throughout the lineup. Is this a Leon issue or his line mates? Peter, you and I talked about Draisaitl this year, and a lot of times this year, Dusty, when we've talked post game or the next night or the next day, it's, well, I don't think so-and-so with Draisaitl has chemistry. All right, they try another guy. I don't think so-and-so with Draisaitl has chemistry. Then they had Kane, McLeod, and Kane, Fogle. No, pardon me. McLeod, Fogle, Draisaitl. That worked for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, about 2 weeks. Not even, maybe like a little bit less than 2 weeks.
What we said earlier today, if you didn't watch the Oil stream this afternoon, was it feels like at times Leon Draisaitl is trying to do too much Connor McDavid stuff instead of just being his own type of centerman.
Like if you look at it, we looked at the goalie, I think, yesterday because people were discussing it. As of yesterday, he was 21st in the league in 5-on-5 scoring.
Right.
And most of that usually comes, I think, when he's with Connor McDavid. So Leon Draisaitl hasn't necessarily, I think, done an excellent job driving his own 5-on-5 line.
Yeah.
And this season. And one of the things that you look at is, him and Kane maybe necessarily don't click. But you are right in, like, who does click?
Because every time it's Leon with so-and-so doesn't click. Leon with that guy doesn't click. Well, guys, that guy and that guy doesn't click. And it always seems to be Draisaitl and.
It's a really weird thing when Fogle and McLeod
are the guys.
Probably the most impactful, thanks, man. The impactful 5-on-5 guys with him this season. I do think what you need with Leon Draisaitl are guys who push the puck, guys who can skate the puck. McLeod again. I think Fogle and Ryan McLeod again might work.
Try it. Just try it.
Well, and we threw it around a little bit today, and then you play Perry and Kane, Dylan Holloway, and you just see how see how that works. But it's like you don't want to be overly critical of Draisaitl because he's a phenomenal hockey player. But his production at 5-on-5 this year, away from McDavid, like how many times have you done it? Usually it's McDavid, Hyman, and Nuge lights out, right? That's what you usually
Generally, they were for a good chunk of January. And,
a good
yeah.
line.
Yeah.
But how many times have you come on and been like, the Draisaitl line at 5-on-5 tonight is really clicking?
We don't talk about the Draisaitl line at 5-on-5 most nights because it doesn't generally do anything most nights.
And that's not even an unfair criticism. That's just the truth.
It's a fact.
It's just the truth. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they sort this top six out down the stretch. I still think goal scoring, obviously, with this team is not a problem. It's not going to be a problem. It's when they were on the streak, they allowed 18 goals over a 14-game stretch. When your penalty kill goes 40-41 and you basically don't allow goals, you're going to win 16 games in a row. That's not the case recently. Team hasn't been playing well. Penalty kill technically, hasn't been great for 2.5, 3 weeks right now.
Yep.
And the goaltending has not been like bailing them out in tough situations. So, I mean, that's just how it is right now.
That Jonas Brodin goal is no bueno. I'm gonna add it. Everybody's on it. I agree with them 100%. That's the first thing I said when I saw that go in. I'm like, ugh, off his glove and in.
It can't happen.
No,
that can't happen. And
no.
But so that I'm sure is spurred on the conversation a bit.
It has.
In post game tonight about gotta acquire somebody. But as was pointed out on our show this morning, like a team in the other situation, barring some sort of like very impressive job prior to the deadline, is not getting the top six forward that you think they need. They're not also on top of that going to get at least one bottom six forward.
Yeah.
On top of that, they also aren't going to get an upgrade on Cody Ceci. And on top of that, they aren't going to have an upgrade between the pipes. So, like, pick one or two. That's just where it's at right now. Now, what this has done is the streak looks so good. And if you mentioned anything during the streak of trade this guy, people would be like, are you nuts?
We did the poll. We did the poll on Oil Stream.
Yeah, we did the poll.
People like, no, leave it.
Yeah.
Don't do anything.
It was over 50%.
Yeah.
Like, just leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
Now you look at the last 9 games, and I'm sure it's a full-blown panic again. But the good thing is that management can look at this sample size from winning streak and all-star game up until the trade deadline and actually be like, okay, improvement needed here, improvement needed here, improvement needed here, and actually sort of accurately assess where the roster's at right now.
Yeah, and then go where the highest level of need is and delineate that way. All right, Barry Texan says, guys, it's not a goalie issue. Most goals are from some sort of defensive breakdown. Upgrade the defense, and the goalies will look much.
Yeah, but like we say upgrade the defense, but this is the same defensive unit that allowed 18. Like, what happened to that type of game for this team?
Right.
These are the same guys. They've been healthy all season. There's been ups and downs, but how come all of a sudden it's just completely fallen off the map? Like, that necessarily doesn't make sense.
Joel's not happy with Leon Draisaitl. Downtown Dana is mixing it up, saying Gagne could have beat Klapka in a fight. I don't know about that, Downtown Dana. And then Matt from Okotoks says, these games happen just as games the Oilers shouldn't win, but do win happen. If the team is winning and maybe the start doesn't happen as it did, these games wouldn't be as big of a deal. Regroup and go beat Calgary tomorrow. If they beat Calgary tomorrow, what are we talking about on Monday?
They're 1-1 on the homestand.
I don't think we let them off the hook for the first 2 games.
No.
How they beat Calgary might change the tone of the conversation.
Yeah, sure.
If
they go out and pump Calgary. Everybody's happy on Monday. Lose to the Kings, and everybody's freaking out again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Like, I think, Matt from Okotoks, we appreciate the support. But these games happen. It's kind of a lame cop-out. Like,
okay,
I'm sorry.
I'll take Matt from Okotoks. I'll defend him on this because it's the ebbs and flows of the season. And you do lay eggs, and you do have stinkers. Now, the room for error and the ability to piss away games after that start, like there's no leeway from the fan base, certainly. And then especially at the stretch drive this time of year, you don't want to be blowing games against teams that are below you. So I understand where Matt from Okotoks is coming, but I also understand the other side of it.
I know they had 24 shots in the third period, but a few of those came after Minnesota was sitting back.
Yeah.
And Minnesota scored 3 goals in the third period.
Yes, they did.
Like, think of where was this game? Like, last game we talked about it. The others were awful in the second period. They just were. Great in the third. And they end up getting a point where they probably shouldn't have got a point when they played in the second. So, great job.
Yeah.
Tonight, you get to the third period, and you have 24 shots. Congratulations. You also allowed 3 goals. I don't care if it's on the forwards, it's on defense, on the goalies. The bottom line is you went into a game at home, coming off a loss, and allowed Minnesota to score more goals than you did in the third period. It's just, at some point, like, you can say just these games happen, but how many times have we talked about the Oilers and a full 60 minutes?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
And 24 shots in third is great, but you still lost the third period of this hockey game. So kudos to obviously a goaltending performance on the other side. But at the same time, I mean, I just think these games happen can be said about every single National Hockey League game on the entire schedule, regardless of the team.
I acknowledge that. Peter also wanted us to know that he doesn't want to hear that Draisaitl's hurt. That's always the excuse. No, he's healthy.
Yeah, except yesterday on the show in the morning, people were like, Dusty, do you think Draisaitl's sick because of the way he played last night? And I got a little fired up because every single time Leon doesn't have a great game, people are like, he's sick or he's hurt. Maybe he just needs to carry the second line for a bit.
He hasn't had a typical Leon Draisaitl season.
No.
This season has been a bit of it's a little step down. Not a huge one, but a little step down from his usual prowess, let's call it.
Yeah, Zach Hyman's having a great offensive season. McDavid's having a pretty good offensive season.
I'd say.
Leon Draisaitl is having for an NHL standards, an awesome offensive season. But, from Leon Draisaitl standards, not a Leon typical offensive season so far.
Yeah.
Now, it's also tough to complain about that because for years we've been saying as a group they should commit more on the defensive side. You're going to sacrifice some offense when you do that. Maybe that's what's happening right now. But still, I would just like to tune in to the postgame show and watch you and Cass and you two Trev some nights and be like, Leon Draisaitl's line without Connor McDavid carried the Oilers to a victory tonight. How many times this season have you guys said that?
Just the games where they had Fogle and McLeod with them.
Yeah.
And that lasted 2 weeks. Remember people were saying, hey, is McLeod a right winger or left winger now? No, he's not. But that worked for a little while. So that was the only time I could think
I still think he's a little more effective on the wing. But
right now, yes.
Yeah, right now.
But I think in time when he becomes a more seasoned veteran, he'll spread his wings and fly as a centerman, Dusty.
I don't think so. I'm just going to politely point it out.
I think he will.
I think a player that excels on the perimeter and enjoys the perimeter probably will do his best things on the perimeter, and he can do that as a winger.
Let him learn how to attack the middle. Attack the middle.
He's not a rookie.
Hey, he's not a rookie.
How many years has he been around now?
Like 6.
He can't attack the middle yet?
No.
I think he could be. We asked Luke Gazdick this morning on the Nielsen show. And I said, Luke, where do you think McLeod fits in on this team? And his answer kind of surprised me a little bit.
What did he say?
Third line winger.
Weird.
Yeah, I know. Because, usually when he plays the wing, it's on the second line.
Yeah.
When he's on the third line, he's a center. Gaz actually said, I think he would be a really good third line winger on this team. So,
wow.
I mean, maybe at some point it's McLeod, Holloway, and Fogle or something. And Holloway's the center. I don't know.
Maybe.
But, I thought that was a really interesting point by Gaz. He thought the best place McLeod. And, if you're looking at the Oilers as a championship caliber team, McLeod as a third line winger might make the most sense. He looks more effective on the wing. Now, usually when he's doing it, he's with Leon Draisaitl, which should help as opposed to playing on a third line with Perry and Holloway or whatever. But if the team could somehow acquire a guy who can moonlight as a third line center or a top six winger.
Right.
Then you can play McLeod on the left side on the third line, and that would at least fit into what Gazdick was saying about the team.
I understand. All right, let's get to one last order round. Let's go to the player of the game, brought to you by Damon Bunting, RE/MAX Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent, top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among RE/MAX realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. YouTube, Trev, all you, buddy.
How's it going, boys? How we doing? Yeah, sorry, I'm just getting the stats pulled up here. I'm not going to lie, and I kind of said this. I was a little busy. I was talking to the Nasties all night, so what do? You rely on the Nasties because the Nasties are always right. I put a poll up, and the poll right now is, let me just whip it up here. Who was the Damon Bunting player of the game? Because I'm going to be completely honest, guys. I think your opinion is probably better on the game than mine tonight. So right now, leading the charge is Zach Hyman. Look, he's been just a go-getter since he's been an Oiler, right? Career year after career year after career year, and he's on pace for another career year, so it's super impressive. He got 1 goal tonight. He was a -2, unfortunately, but 2 shots on net. Yeah, he is your player of the game, so good for you, Zach Hyman.
All right, YouTube, Trev, good job. Player of the game brought to you by Damon Bunting, RE/MAX Elite. What is Matty Simonek doing right now?
I'm not sure, but don't worry about him.
I'm not worried, but you played in the world's longest game with him. He's
3
doing
times.
his thing.
Yeah, he's on my line. He's here.
Yeah,
He's here tonight having a fun time.
Who drives the line, him or you, or do you need a Leon on there?
It was me. The one game it was Andy Niederman. The other 2 games it was me. So.
I understand. All right. Overall thoughts on how the night went and the Nasties that showed up.
Yeah, it was fun tonight. It would have been obviously a little bit more fun for everybody here. This place was almost no tables available. I thought it was pretty good. I'm just looking at some of the nasty chats here.
What are you seeing?
Duck Dad, big time nasty, lock shopper, all that good stuff. Oilers are going to cover -4.5 goals tomorrow minimum. I see something like 8 goals for the Oilers with 2 from Connor Brown. KD says dry as washed. Mr. Perfect says, can 40 minutes of hockey win you the Stanley Cup? That might be the best point out of all of this. Like, the Oilers have to find a full 60 at some point here.
Were they getting full 60s in the 16-game winning streak? No, they weren't.
At the beginning of it, they were.
Yeah, okay.
At the beginning of it, they were. And then things fell off a little bit, for sure. They definitely did. So, I don't think they were – I would say, what do you think, final 6 games of the winning streak?
That's where they started to unravel, and that's where Chris Knobloch started to get frustrated and pointed things out, and that's what he had to dip into the nuclear option of Draisaitl and McDavid. So, yeah.
But it can't come back to this, right?
We saw it tonight in the third period.
I know, man. It doesn't matter who the coach is. And I think we would be guilty of it if we coach this team too. You're like,
how can you not
we
do
got to
that?
get going. Let's put McDavid and Draisaitl together. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like Draisaitl just waits for that.
I don't like that.
I know, but am I wrong? Is that a bad take?
No, it's not a bad take.
I don't think it's a bad take. I think it's an accurate take. And I do have faith that Knobloch gets that sorted out. So,
well, they have less than 30 games to go. It's been an up and down patch since they've come back from the All-Star break / bye week. Any other nasty chats you want? Did you have to kick anyone out again today?
Not tonight. It seemed like everybody was pretty well behaved tonight.
All right.
So that's we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
YouTube, Trev, the dance floor is open. It is screaming your name. So if you can make your way back down here, you can dance like you did that one night. And
can I get to this one?
Yeah, for sure.
Bob Gruel says, if they lose tomorrow night, then what? And that's tomorrow night's postgame show is a must-watch. If they lose to the Calgary
Flames
tomorrow, I don't think they will. I know people will be like, "Oh, you guys are really hard on them, whatever." I don't think they lose tomorrow. I think they win tomorrow. You're hoping for it, but if they lose tomorrow, and Skinner is questionable at best, you better buckle up, buddy.
Yeah,
because that'll be. And this is a juicy little homestand. Like, it's difficult. I get it, but it's a homestand nonetheless. And having 1 point of a possible 4 to start makes the rest of it extremely important.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll dive into if they lose tomorrow. if they lose tomorrow, Tommy will take care of that. But
Sure.
I do find it very intriguing. Like, if they lose tomorrow, it's not just a loss to Calgary. It's 0-2-1 or 0-1-2 on a 5-game homestand.
Yeah.
And that is not going to go over well
Hey,
in this city.
They had an
Nor should it.
They had an 8-game winning streak at home, snapped the other night, and now they're looking at 2 games without a win, and they've got Calgary tomorrow night, a rested Calgary bunch. Randy, with this one, I'll let you get to this one in a sec, says, you guys are ballsy to question Leon in this market. Fans are going to come for your head that you didn't kiss Leon's feet. That's from Randy. Okay, what do you got?
DEL says Soupy deserves a chance.
That's going to do it for the Oil Stream post-game
I knew
show.
that would wrap it up. This guy hates Jack Campbell.
Where's Smitty the Welder? Are you Smitty the Welder?
Okay, wouldn't that
Is
be
that
the
your
all-time
burner?
twist? I am Smitty the Welder? That would be nuts.
You don't know how to weld?
I don't know how to do anything.
You know how to do a lot of
Welding,
things well.
yeah.
Welding, maybe not so much.
I would very much hurt somebody by attempting
Yourself,
welding.
especially.
Mind you, I think the masks are cool.
They are pretty cool. You can't see anything until you see the spark.
Yeah, you look like Iron Man when he's in the cave and built the Iron Man suit the first time.
What was the name of that one? The Mach 8? The Mach 1?
The very first one?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Mark 1.
Is that,
Mark 1.
Mark
That's
1.
what it was called.
Thanks,
Look at
Trev.
him. Thank you, Trev.
Good
you
looking
nerd.
out, Trev.
I got you, boys.
All right. Okay, that's going to do it for the Oil Stream post-game show. Big thank you to everybody here at Hudson's Bourbon Street, Steve, Adam, and the entire crew, and to everybody who came out tonight and said hello. I dispersed the GCs that were given to me as best as I could. I feel like everybody got something, and we're going to do it all over again next week. It's not a watch party, but we're going to be on location. What is it?
On location, again, St. Louis game.
St. Louis game. All right, so that'll do it. Oilers lose 4-2 to the Minnesota Wild from Hudson's on Bourbon Street. I'm Tom Gazzola for Dusty Nielsen, Matty Kassian, and YouTube Trev saying thank you. Have a great night, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow, 6:30, pregame show.